This is just because the Shadow Secretary of State for the Environment, Steve Reid, is standing by, poised and ready to go. Good morning to you, Steve. Nice to see you this morning. Here's one for you, and I know you're probably expecting it, but if you had a child who is in urgent need of medical attention and there was a very long waiting list on the NHS, would you use private healthcare?
I think if it was in that circumstance and they weren't going to be treated on the NHS and I had the means, but obviously what we want to do is improve the NHS so people aren't confronted with that terrible choice. And for many people, of course, it's not a choice. If you haven't got the money, you just have to sit there and watch your child suffer. And no parent should be put in that position.
And I guess that's what Sir Keir Starmer should have said, isn't it?
Well, it's up to Keir to say what he thinks. What we all want to do in the Labour Party is improve the NHS. It's got record waiting list at the moment, just shy of 8 million people. That's almost the entire retired population of the UK. And what Labour's proposing to do is we're going to close the non-dom tax loophole, which is where foreign billionaires living in our country pay less tax than the guy that cuts my hair. And by doing that, we can fund 40,000 additional appointments every week in the NHS and start to reduce those waiting lists. So that is the approach that we will take. We don't want people to be forced to go private. People pay national insurance to fund our National Health Service, and it should be there for them when they need it, when their families need it. But under the Conservatives, unfortunately, it isn't.
The problem is with that, and I know it's going back on a point, but you keep mentioning this non-dom business. I mean, the more you close the non-dom tax loophole, the fewer non-doms are going to come here, and therefore that is a revenue stream that over time is just going to decrease.
Well, there isn't much evidence to back up what you're saying there, actually. People are living in this country because they enjoy living in this country. And it seems to me only fair, and I suspect most of your viewers will feel the same, that if you're living in this country and enjoying the benefits of this country, then you should pay taxes in your country. Nearly all of us do. This is a tiny number of people who are getting away without paying that tax, and they happen to be some of the wealthiest people on the planet. So all we're doing is asking them to pay their fair share. I don't think that's wrong, but it can help us to start to reduce the pressure on our NHS so we can get those massive waiting lists down. I've got people in my constituency who've gone to A&E and been waiting there for 24 hours. That's shocking. We should be nothing like that situation in our country. So we have to start moving to address that. But of course, the way that we can really tackle all of these problems in our public services is to get back to growth in our economy so that we get the income coming into the exchequer that can fund the improvements in our public services that we need.
Generally, across the country this weekend, it's going to be pretty good weather. And they're saying that we're due a heat wave next week. But you can't go swimming in the sea very safely or in a river. The state of our waterways and sea is absolutely appalling. And the National Trust is clearly trying to get politicians on board. They're challenging UK leaders to save Britain's rivers. They want you to sign up to something saying that you will take certain steps to improve the environment. It's your battleground, as it were. What are you going to do about it? What about the fact that, for instance, water company bosses have taken home more than £100 million in salaries and bonuses over the past 10 years, despite, as we all know, so many of them doing a really appalling job? What are you really going to do about this?
Well, you just made the point absolutely brilliantly there. And as you can see, I'm in a hotel room at the moment. I'm down in Bournemouth. And we're down here to campaign against about exactly what your viewers are seeing on their screens now. Pipes pumping raw sewage out into the water here. There are beaches in Bournemouth that get closed on some days in the summer because the level of sewage, raw sewage, is so high, it's dangerous. It's dangerous to go in the water. Over the whole country, levels of raw sewage in our water are at record levels, the highest ever recorded. And yet the Conservatives have let the water companies who are responsible for this just get away with it. So if there's a Labour government elected on the 4th of July, what we will do is put the water companies under tough special measures. And that means making the water bosses who are overseeing this face criminal charges if they don't do anything to clean it up. But secondly, you referred there to the £100 million of bonuses that they've been able to award themselves for catastrophic failure. We will ban the payment of those bonuses until they clean up this toxic filth. Because I do.
Shouldn't they be made to pay it back?
Shouldn't
they be made to pay some of these bonuses back?
Well, it's very difficult to claw money back once it's been given out under the Conservatives. What we can do is make sure they don't get any more with a Labour government. There are 10,000 people since the last general election who have been hospitalised with waterborne diseases. They've been made so ill by going in the sea or in a river that they've ended up in hospital. That's kids as well. Many parents are afraid to put their kids in the water because of what's going on. That is not the state this country should be in, and we tackle it by stopping going soft on the water companies like the Conservatives have put them under special measures. Water bosses who continue to behave like that will end up in the dock. That will focus their minds. And instead of the millions of pounds going to pay their bonuses, that money will go to fix the broken water infrastructure.
Why don't you just renationalise it?
Well, because renationalisation would take years. During that time, the situation in the water would get worse and worse and worse. And I want us to be able to take action as quickly as possible. But nationalisation, of course, would also cost tens of billions of pounds, and that money isn't available. We have to get back to growing this economy, and we have to get back to clean water. Countries crying out for change. We can make change in the water industry by putting the water companies under tough special measures, and we could do that quicker than by any alternative route to cleaning up the water.
OK, Steve Reid, we've got to leave it there, but appreciate your time this morning. Thanks very much indeed.